Think of ancient Egypt, and you probably picture towering pyramids and meticulously preserved mummies. But that monumental architecture masks a deeply ingrained obsession with the animal kingdom. They built statues of human-animal hybrids on a scale that rivaled those very pyramids. Much of what we know about this comes from the Greek historian Herodotus, who traveled through the region 2,500 years ago and documented their extremely strict religious laws. Those laws were severe. If a person killed a household cat, they were immediately guilty of murder, and the penalty was death. To understand why a civilization would execute a human over a pet, we have to look at how they viewed the physical world. For the ancient Egyptians, the gods did not exist entirely in the sky. They lived right down in the dirt beside them. Life along the ancient Nile was constantly threatened by the environment. Settlements and grain stores were crawling with rats and highly venomous snakes. Cats provided an immediate layer of defense. They kept families alive by actively hunting and neutralizing these threats in the home. The utility was so direct that the ancient Egyptian word for cat was simply mao, an entirely practical name derived from the sound the animal makes. Looking up, the falcon offered a different kind of advantage. With incredibly sharp eyesight, they could spot tiny prey across vast expanses of the desert. Down on the ground, cattle were the engines of agricultural survival. The milk-giving cow provided consistent, nurturing sustenance, while the heavy-framed bull offered raw, muscular power. These biological traits were essential. Egyptians revered these animals because they consistently demonstrated physical abilities that humans desperately needed but entirely lacked. Respecting an animal's physical trait naturally evolved into equating that trait with divine power. A king, for instance, needs to be wise and far-sighted to rule effectively. Because the falcon already possessed that far-sightedness in nature, the animal became the god Horus. The pharaoh was believed to be Horus in human form, often depicted wearing the royal crown. That same logic applied to the household cat. The everyday protector against snakes evolved into the widely worshipped goddess Bastet. Devotion to Bastet was massive. Every year, huge crowds sailed down the River Nile in large wooden boats, singing and celebrating on their way to her main temple. The natural vigilance of hunting dogs was similarly translated into Anubis, the alert, greyhound-headed god tasked with guarding the underworld. By projecting their most crucial survival needs onto local wildlife, the Egyptians built a pantheon of gods that were tangible, breathing, and observable in their daily lives. Eventually, representing gods as animals escalated into worshipping specific, living animals as literal deities on earth. In the city of Memphis, priests kept a single living bull known as Apis. They identified him through strict physical criteria. He had to be black with a white crescent on his side or a triangle on his forehead. Even highly dangerous predators were pampered. Priests dedicated to the crocodile god Sobek kept live, sacred crocodiles in their temples, hand-feeding them the most tasty cuts of meat and honey cakes. When these sacred animals died, the mourning was intense. Entire families would shave their eyebrows in grief, and royals commissioned complex mummifications and jeweled sarcophagi to bury their pets. The boundaries separating human royalty, divine spirits, and the animals in the courtyard had completely dissolved. This intersection of human need and animal utility reached its absolute peak during the solemn sacrifice of a fully black bull. Priests would carefully inspect the animal to ensure every single hair was black. After the sacrifice, they prayed their community's evil and bad fortune would transfer directly into the animal's severed head, which was then thrown into the river. This physical transfer of human wrongdoing onto an animal mirrors a concept we still use today when we label someone a scapegoat. The ancient Egyptians built a strict theological mechanism out of the food chain. By observing the natural world and elevating its raw survival traits to the divine, they found a way to harmonize with an